On behalf of my colleague, Dean Dan Aid, and the people of St. John's, we thank you, Mother Kate, and the people of St. James for this wonderful invitation. We have too few opportunities in the church, I think, for events like this in a time where Christians need to get together more frequently. And so we thank you for this invitation and for this time. In a 19th century poem that later became a hymn, John Bowring imagines a dialogue between a watchman looking over the night and a traveler seeking light and hope in the midst of darkness. Watchman, tell us of the night, what its signs of promise are. Traveler, o'er yon mountain height, see that glory beaming star. Watchman, doth its beauteous ray aught of hope or joy foretell? Traveler, yes, it brings the day, promised day of Israel. Well, I imagine at that first Epiphany, it seemed like a dark time. Herod, Caesar, people of Israel oppressed and looking for some light on the other side of a tunnel. Well, in our nation today, we have a lot of watchmen reporting to us about the night. The darkness seems to be all around us. They tell of renewed threats of war in the Middle East. They tell us of the real and present danger of climate catastrophe and the failure of political will to act in response. They tell us of more entrenched tribalism and partisanship and cynicism in the halls of government. Watchmen, tell us of the night, what its signs of promise are. Well, the jury is still out on that one, many modern watchmen might tell us. And tonight we hear about an ancient message of a glory-beaming star. On the night of April 17th in the year 6 BCE, the sun, Jupiter, the moon, and Saturn aligned in the constellation Aries. This celestial event is recorded by Chinese astronomers and may also have been seen by the astronomers of Babylon. Zoroastrian magi looking to the heavens and seeing this portent of a powerful king. At least that is what Notre Dame astrophysicist Grant Matthews thinks. He has used NASA databanks to research the most likely candidates for what might have caused the Eastern sages to go in search of the one whom the celestial light foretold. And Matthew says that in Zoroastrian astrology, the planetary alignment in Aries pointed to the birth of a powerful leader. Now, Matthews admits that no one can know for sure what the star was that we hear about in our gospel reading tonight, and many other theories have been advanced over the centuries, or perhaps simply it was a symbolic story to tell us that diverse peoples from far-flung places would come to God's light. All these are possibilities, but I'm more compelled to ask those ancient travelers, what were you looking for in the night? Why were you looking? What longing caused you to travel all those miles in search of that king? And were you changed by the journey? I think the problem with Christmas is that we stop at the creche and bask in the beauty of the magic of the moment, and then we put it all away. But if that's all there is, then those travelers still wouldn't have found what they were looking for. Those sages found a promise still yet unfulfilled in their lives, but a promise of a future hope in the greater light of that child of Bethlehem. And we Christians know more of the story, don't we? We know that Jesus grew up. We know that he proclaimed the message of a kingdom, a message for which he died. We say that this Jesus was crucified and he rose from the dead, and that he still is with us through the power of the Holy Spirit, who guides the church and strengthens us to make God's kingdom a reality even in the midst of this world. But we still haven't found what we're looking for fully. Like those sages of old, we too have a promise and a hope for the future, a promise that will only be fulfilled when God's kingdom comes in its fullness. But God's promise becomes brighter when each of us allow our hearts to be filled with the light of that promise. When we come to believe that we are God's beloved, that you are God's beloved. When we come to believe that whatever darkness we've experienced, whatever darkness and fear in our world, wherever our roads have taken us, they all converge in that child of Bethlehem who takes away our guilt and all the burdens we might bear and all the weariness of our journey. There are all sorts of travelers in the world who are seeking for hope this night, for forgiveness, for hope to not be afraid. And like those ancient sages who saw the star, there is a hunger in the human heart for hope, for connection to something, to someone beyond ourselves. Watchmen, they ask hopefully, tell us of the night. Some answers to that question tell us that the quest is really pointless. In the last several years, there have been all sorts of popular watchmen who seek to tell us that there is no ultimate hope in the night. Christopher Hitchens, God is not great. Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion. Sam Harris, The End of Faith. All try to make the claim that to believe in anything beyond what we can test and verify is not only self-deceiving, but dangerous in our polarized world. And yet, despite the voices who tell us not to look beyond anything beyond ourselves, to hope for a new morning, it seems that perhaps even they, despite their protestations, raise their voices to silence the longing for mystery. O Lord, our hearts are restless, wrote St. Augustine, and they will not rest until they rest in thee. What we Christians say to travelers who want some word from a watchman is this: your longing is a wonderful gift given to you by the one who made you and who invites you to come home to find the place where you belong. Yes, the morning seems to dawn, doubt and terror are withdrawn, because that child beheld by Eastern sages so long ago has come to show us how to make it through the night. I also have a theory about that Star of Bethlehem. It was never meant to shine only as a beacon signaling the presence of the Christ child in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. It was light that, coming into the world, enlightens everyone that truly seeks for it. I have a theory that that star exploded into a billion sparks and comes to rest in every heart that welcomes the Christ. And I believe that the light of that star still has power to lead weary travelers to come unto him. I believe that you and I have the opportunity to shine the light of that star that now glows in us and to share it with all those fellow travelers of our own day. Will you and I have the courage to open our hearts, to speak to those fellow travelers of the truth that lies within us, to lead them to the Christ? Will we speak in a language that they will understand? Can we become beacons shining the light of faith and hope in this city and in the darkness of our nation? Can we do this, and will we? Will we join our hands in hope to work for the kingdom Jesus came to bring, the way of love? John Bowring's poem continues. Watchmen, tell us of the night. Higher yet that star ascends. Traveler, blessedness and light, peace and truth its course portends. But watchman, will its beams alone gild the spot that gave them birth? Traveler, oh no, ages are its own. See, it bursts o'er all the earth. Amen.